Hi, today we're going to be making silvanas. Before we get started, I just wanted to show you this is the recipe that we followed. I'll put the link in the description below. Last week we had some silvanas from a local baker and we loved them so much we thought we would try making them ourselves. Okay, clearly I've never used a food processor before, but we figured it out through the help of the internet. We grounded up the cashews and then I got the rest of the ingredients ready. So the first step was to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. If you've seen my previous videos, you know how I do this. I use my hands to catch the yolk and then put the yolk in a different bowl. And that's how I separate my egg yolks. Next step is to whip up the meringue. So we're doing a French meringue here. It wasn't clear in the video if she got it to medium or stiff peaks, but I just did it to stiff peaks. I used some cream of tartar, added in the sugar gradually, and yeah, I'm gonna speed up the rest of this so it's a lot faster. And I've said this before, but the best way to tell if your meringue is stiff enough is if you flip the bowl upside down. Nothing should be coming out, like it should be stiff. And then what I did was I took a half cup of the ground cashews. I'm having a little trouble here. Clearly my little bowl is too small for the cup. They're like the same size. Anyway, I folded it into the meringue batter. I used a spatula because I didn't want to deflate the egg whites. We worked so hard to create these stiff peaks. We don't want to ruin it. So you kind of just fold it in and fold it in. Okay, so now that the meringue is fully incorporated with the ground cashews, I put everything into a piping bag, I scooped it all up, and then I used a pair of scissors to cut off the tip so that I could use it to pipe little swirls, and you'll see that in a minute. But yeah, I am just using the piping bag, and then I'm doing the swirls onto the tray like so. The batter was actually enough to cover 2 trays, but the way that my oven is set up, it's really small. I only have one size of this tray, so I just played around with the next one. We're just testing different shapes and sizes. So we only made 12 like actually edible ones and then just messed around with the rest, and then used a paring knife or I just use a regular knife, but you use a knife to flatten the surface after you tap it onto your counter to get rid of the bubbles. You can see here what I'm doing with the extras, like we were just fooling around. Anyway, now that that's done, we baked it for 300 degrees for 20 minutes, and then now it's time to make the French buttercream. So what you do is you take the egg yolks, you mix it with some sugar and vanilla extract, you kind of whisk it around, and then you make yourself a makeshift double boiler like what I did here. And you are supposed to use a thermometer, but the one that I ordered from Amazon didn't come in time, so I kind of just used my best judgment, and I kept whisking it continuously until I thought I had the right temperature, which looks like I did, because when you added the soft butter, and you're supposed to be using room temperature butter, by the way, when you add the butter, it's supposed to, thicken up and turn into an actual buttercream. And oh my god, the buttercream is so delicious. I think I'm going to start using this for cream puffs instead of making pastry cream, because this was a lot easier to do. So anyway, eventually you're going to end up with something that resembles a very thick buttercream, but it's not thick enough to be used on a cake, unfortunately. So a silvana or a cream puffs, like I said, is probably the best way to use this type of buttercream. The next step was to crush some graham crackers, and then on a baking tray you're supposed to mix another half a cup of graham crackers with a half a cup of the ground cashews. My husband thought it would be smart to use a food scale, but honestly it was a lot easier to just use the measuring cup because you can just scoop it. So anyway, yeah, you just scoop the ground cashews and the crushed graham crackers onto a baking tray, and then you mix it all up. I'm just gonna speed past this for you guys because this is kind of boring. Yeah, so I'm gonna speed it up from now on. What I've done is I took the piping bag, I piped the French buttercream onto one of the silvanas, kind of like when you're making macarons. It's basically the same idea. Then I pipe it around, put another layer on top, and then I pipe the edges so that I could use some of that to catch the graham cracker and graham cracker and cashew mix. I keep wanting to say almond, but they're totally different. You're supposed to be using cashews. And then Derek wanted to try, so I let him try, and he did not like his work. He's kind of a perfectionist, and he didn't like how his ended up, so he made me do the rest, even though it was his idea, but it's all good because I love doing it. I think we had so much fun making these silvanas. And yeah, he's really been enjoying baking lately. He helped me bake some cakes last week, and the week before that, he helped me make some pan de sal. So yeah, it's been quite a journey for my husband learning how to bake, and I think it's very cute that he's trying. So the final step is to freeze them for at least a couple hours, and then you're finally free to enjoy them. And I think they turned out really well. They're looking a little rough around the edges, but they tasted delicious nonetheless. I highly recommend trying out this recipe. Again, I'll put the original link down below. Have a great day. Bye!